Hey everybody, welcome back to Ready Steady Play, where we've just finished playing Divide and Rule, or
Divide at Impera.
And it is the...
Again, no idea if that's actually correct. Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds better when Ollie does it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all just finished playing, and now we're going to talk about what we thought of the game. So you can decide whether this is something that you want to back on Kickstarter, or if this is much further in the future, something that you want to look into acquiring somehow.
I mean, it is set 50 years in the future. Ish.
It does say in the rulebook, doesn't it, when it's set?
Well, it says that this is 50 years after the White Death.
Right, yeah. Which is what
Or the
caused
White
the
Plague.
snow.
It's the White Death, isn't it?
Yeah, it's referring to the weather, and it's not a racial thing.
No, but it's basically, was it aliens? I'm ignoring that. Was it aliens? Was it a nuclear winter? Was it some kind of biological horror? Was it that finally the environment just went, nope?
It's aliens living in the clouds and making it snow.
Does that mean what I think it means?
Cloud aliens.
Mm-hmm. Cloudians.
Cloudians. If you don't know what this is a sort of an action selection game where you're playing out cards from a hand. Every round you have access to the 8 cards in your hand, and you'll play out 6 cards over the course of a single round and take out actions based on the cards you played. And these card plays are divided into action phases, 3 per round. You play 2 cards and go around until everyone's played out all 6 cards.
Or 1 card if you want to mark it.
Yep, or you can play 1 card in an action phase, and that gives you the opportunity to buy a card from the market.
I have to admit, I really like the theme to this.
I like the theme. I quite like that it's territory control, but it's also non-violent. There is some violence.
There is.
Light violence.
You both shot me.
But it's not an aggressive game.
It's not a super aggressive. It's like a sort of it's like a tug of war rather than a battle.
Yeah, you can't permanently win control of any area. You can make a damn good stronghold going on, but as we saw, you can lose it on the flip of a turn.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool.
A lot of the I was really I spent a lot of the last term planning how I was going to capture these outposts. That was sort of my big bid, and I felt reasonably well rewarded for those decisions. So that felt good. It's that kind of game where it really is a lot of it's obviously there is some random elements to the game in the sense that you've got these marketplaces, but it's very minor. It does feel very sort of strategic, and
I liked the fact that the missions out here
Words.
I like the fact that the missions were on the turn you want to do it. It's better for you, but then if you don't go for the ones on that turn, you are just causing yourself to lose points later on. But you might go, I can't achieve that now, so there's no point in me doing it. But you took a gamble that paid off, evidently.
what was that?
Where you took a suboptimal mission to not have to then pay worse for... You chose to do a mission where you wouldn't score very much on the assumption that I'm going to make better later. I'll have more time to...
Yeah, it gives you this sort of constant decision space where you're like, do I score this one now because I've got some points, or do I wait to score it later, hoping to get more, before I run out of time, or someone else
or you get
challenges me and pips to it. And there are actually 3 different ways of doing this board that they give you in the rulebook. The first is the way that we did it, which is that as the round marker moves on, at the end of every round you pick 1 card and 1 column and score a card in that column.
Yep.
And if you're scoring cards behind the round marker, then you're going to get less points, and if you're scoring cards ahead of the round marker, then you get more points, or equal to or ahead. But of course, the challenge is that you might think, I'm really well suited to scoring this card this round, but then that means you're definitely going to have to score one behind the round marker later on.
Yeah.
So it gives you this really interesting decision space, and what you can do, they actually give you this option in the rulebook, is take away 4 of these cards, so that everyone's going for the same card each round.
Yeah.
And what this does is it creates more contention on the board because you're all looking for the same things.
Right.
Okay. And then the other option is actually that you don't put out these at the end of each round, but I think you can sort of
terrifying.
choose to hold on to them or choose to spend them in a given moment.
Right.
So then you're sort of like deciding, am I going to profit most from this now, or am I going to be able to get more out of it later?
No,
but I
that's
actually think out of the various options, I like this one the best. Having said that, I haven't played it a whole lot, but
I mean, yeah,
it appealed to me the most, this one.
I like the tactical decisions you have to make and the redundancy of having the 2 rows. I liked because you might be in a position where you just can't score one of them. Like you might go, well, I can't do that because I have no control of anything, but I can do that because I've got some power.
Yeah.
So it does give you an alternative, so you don't feel like you're being actively punished by the game for random luck, which I like. It's a very good mitigation to it because you go, well, I've got to disregard that one, so I'm going to go energy hunting, or I'm going to go constructing. I'm going to build a load of bridges and a load of camps because you can't remove them once they're on. Like, no one can take them away from you once they're there. Golden.
Yeah. What do you think?
No
I
pressure.
actually liked it, but
I actually liked it. Kill Surprise.
but
Uh-oh.
it doesn't do well with people with AP because there is a lot to think about. But I suppose that'll come with practice. That the more times that you play it, the less
also
thinky that you get, and the more interesting strategies that you'll probably come out with.
Yeah, and also the more you can see of this, the less AP you've got because you can just go, oh, that's the one I'm looking at, as opposed to crane my neck.
Not linked to this. I mean, there is options. You've got to be on the ball with it. I think that's why. That's why there's bits of elements of like, oh. But that's just me personally. But I suppose I was doubting it. Like if this is your jam, then you'll really enjoy it. And I think it was just because I didn't. I found a frustration with it that I wasn't being optimal enough. But I think that was just more me as a player rather than the game as a design.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely one of those games where every action matters and every card play matters.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that pressure of having to sort of pay attention and be thinking about it all the time, then it might be a bit much for you. But if you enjoy that, and to an extent, it depends on, I think, what kind of player you are, because I played this down the pub just 2-player with someone else, and they're a very casual gamer and they got along with it really well.
Yeah.
So I think that's just sort of that's your struggle for optimization and so doing things perfectly.
That's exactly right.
It's also when Plan A definitely goes down the toilet. And you're like, I don't want to abandon Plan A.
And I think, speaking of which, Ollie had a lot of plans scuppered during the course of this.
Ollie was probably on Plan Z or something.
And he was very.
I know. I ran out of letters. I moved on to numbers.
Yeah, you're a very good sport about that. But it is.
Oh, you were being serious. Oh god.
But
yeah, watch that playback.
I mean, for a game that's on Kickstarter now, if you're watching this currently, this is a very finished product.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot more coming for it because it's a Ludus Magnus Kickstarter campaign. They haven't confirmed that. This could be all there is. I very much doubt it.
I like the idea that first London, next Paris.
Well, I presume that there's a lot of scope here for, and that's something I'm actually going to come to in a minute. But there's a lot of scope here for sort of different board tiles, different drones. These factions are, you've got these player boards as well, which are easily sort of interchangeable for different factions. So the factions all start with a deck of 8 cards, and those are their 8 starting actions and 1 hero as well. And there's a lot of scope to create a lot of different sort of flavors and sort of styles to the factions. So I can't really speak to all of this potential product in the future or whether it will be balanced or good. But what I can say is from what's here, they all feel quite distinct, they all feel quite interesting, and they all feel fairly well balanced. I think that there is some potential if you're doing a draft of the feats to create some pretty awesome combos that you might know if you know the game a lot better than other people. And to be fair, I kind of accidentally lucked into that.
Oh yeah, totally by accident.
Oh well, I saw I was last player, but I got picked first pick in the draft. It's true, and but I do think that there is actually the thing about being first player as well, though, is that you do get I think sort of first choice of these markets.
True,
and there are some of these cards that start out in these opening positions are immediately purchasable. So if you do see something like this or something like this that's in a really good position as first player, you just immediately can grab that, and that could be potentially really strong.
Yeah.
But the game does do quite a lot to mitigate the sort of advantages and disadvantages of first place and second place and all that kind of stuff. And, I knew that this would be good for me because it combos with his ability, and then this one I liked because it comboed with that. But you're moving guys around and breaking ties is actually quite a good combo in itself.
I really liked that, especially with Argyle being able to go anywhere. Yeah. However, didn't actually use Argyle nearly as much as you used Zed.
Caught up there.
Yeah, which, I mean, to be fair, I don't feel like I suffered massively for that, which I like, because it means that you're not so reliant on this character to win. But there is definitely the situation where I think some characters have an advantage that's difficult to overcome if you get the right cards drafted out. And I don't know if that's a fixable problem, because you could do it randomly and then nothing ever happens that way. Or it could just be you go, right, this character, if that person's going first, there's not a lot you can do about stopping them from getting it. But if they're not, you know which ones you want to avoid them getting a hold of. So then it becomes a bit of a metagame of removing something that you're not necessarily going to get a massive use out of, but it's preventing your opponent from getting a big advantage. So, bit of metagaming there, but I do like it. And just going back to what you were saying about new factions, I would like to see how they would expand it, because the story they put in the book is quite enticing. They've got some backstory there that I really like the look of. I love the setting of it, and the fact that every faction does have different sets of cards. I mean, we went through to look because we thought, how different is it going to be? So
these are your sort of faction starting cards here, and they've got your little faction icons on them and some custom art as well.
Yeah. And there are...
And they're subtly different. Like, you have a lot of collects in your faction, and Ollie's is the faction I played down the pub, so I was quite used to being able to run around and collect things. And then suddenly I had this faction who everyone starts off with access to a different drone, but you can access all the drones if you buy the right cards throughout the game. So you're not limited to a drone. But I can build things. I'm quite good at building things in this faction, but I don't have a lot of collect. I only have one card that collects, and it doesn't even move or do anything else. You should have a
move and collect.
I don't. No.
Okay.
There is like sort of quite distinct flavour.
Yeah. But I'd be interested to see how they expand that.
Michael's got some cards too.
Yes, he does.
I have a Phoenix. I think I move quite a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a reasonable amount of movement. You've got quite a lot. You've got 2 move and collects, which is I think your guys are pretty good at sort of moving around and collecting. Maybe a bit of a compromise. Your hero is obviously a bit of a
kleptomaniac.
Well, he auto collects.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this drone, because you have control of this drone, you move it and collect too.
Yeah, so your guys are basically just hoovering up resources.
Yeah, and I managed to out-hoover.
Yeah, you didn't have that many.
And that's the thing, I didn't utilise it very well.
You say that, you managed to really annoy me.
And the final scoring was really close, so I think it is.
I think that reflects it's been well balanced for how they're doing it. I was a bit unsure of the market, because you have to give up effectively half your turn to access it. And I thought, we're not going to do it. But then, obviously, Michael over there was... I mean, how many bloody cards did you end up with in the end?
6.
Yeah. So six half turns, and it worked.
Yeah, and then you managed to get a decent score as well. Yeah. So, and it just goes to show that there's sort of different avenues to victory. We found in the 2-player version of the game that the market was a little bit more stagnant because fewer people were buying cards. Yeah. And I think that could become a bit problematic.
We definitely had a quick market going.
It would be nice to see maybe in a 2-player version of the game something like everyone gets one sort of like reset where you can reset one of the marketplace rows or something.
Yeah, that'd probably be good
but that would be very easy to implement, and obviously this is not the final product.
No.
And you can even house rule that simply. Yeah. So not a big issue, but I think with the 2-player, the stagnant market is a thing.
Just to move on to component wise, make that 40. Come on.
Yeah, to be fair,
I know.
I mean, if that's our only complaint about the components, that's a very good.
Yeah, I love the artwork on this. I was very interested in looking at all of the card art, and I kind of got a bit lost on a few of them because it's just absolutely amazing. I love how absolutely
cheesy grin.
That's just
Tally ho.
Yes. And who had Che Guevara in the end?
What happened to Che?
I think you bought him.
Did I buy him?
I think it's that one.
No, I think you bought him, Ollie.
Oh, I bought him. Yeah. Yeah, I love the artwork behind this. I think it's really well done. It's not one that I could say I've seen a lot of because of
it's sort of like retro futurist. It looks old fashioned but also futuristic.
I was gonna say like old school dystopia. Yeah.
I love the harvester images.
The harvester drone's very adorable.
Bloody terrifying.
Although mine came broken, and when I glued the thing back on, I think I did it wrong because now he's like drunk. Go home, harvester drone. You're drunk.
Yeah, but artwork on the board. The outposts are very clear. I liked that. The resources are incredibly clear. You've got 2 of them. They are different shapes and different colours. That's good for people who are colourblind.
Yeah, I think. If Chris were here, he could comment more. I think on the accessibility of the colours.
I like the fact, like offhand, it looks like they've made a good effort.
I don't know if this green and red would be problematic for some people. It might be, but at least the images
are very distinct.
Yeah, the images are different, so you can see that. That's good. Yeah. I do kind of wish that this is just such a small nitpick, but
go ahead anyway.
These little cubes should definitely be in spaces in the middle instead of like little slots on the side.
Fair enough.
Just because then it stays put, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like the
tiniest of gripes.
I don't. For me, that's not an issue. We didn't find them moved that much, did we?
No.
But they're a pain to put out at the beginning, and that was something I was leading up to, which is that the setup time for the game is quite high.
Yes.
Especially if you're quite quick at playing it, and obviously the game is a lot of planning, and could be quite prone to AP, so it might not be a quick game. But it could. I think you could probably, if you all knew the game really well, I reckon you could probably do this in like 60 to 90 minutes. Because it's only 4 rounds. It's not that long.
Yeah.
And the setup time for the game is quite laborious because all of the tiles go out, and then you've got to put all of the things out on the tiles.
Is this board in a specific order, or was it just...
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Ollie, because that was my next point, which is that this is set up in the 3-player configuration from the rulebook. However, once you all know the game better, you can do a complete randomized layout. You can also invent your own layouts. So they do say that, once you've tried the sort of the default configuration that we've played here, you can sort of make up your own thing.
Yeah. I didn't realise that was glued down. I thought it was like, is there something below it? So that's where it goes.
On the back of the tiles, they're all numbered. So you might get like sort of more contentious areas if you link up these 3 resource spots with these outpost spots and things like that.
Yeah.
And I do think there is scope here to introduce more variety of tiles. Like a lot of these are actually very similar. They just look a bit different because of the orientation and the figures on top. But there's a lot of scope here to just change up the tiles and what's going on them as well.
And that's also an area they could easily expand into, where they've just got, here's some different tiles to have in your game.
The most obvious comparison to make for this, for me at least off the top of my head, is a game called Concordia. And if you guys don't know that one, it's not dissimilar in the sense that you're playing cards from a hand of set cards each round. And there's a marketplace. It's just one marketplace instead of 4. And you're buying cards from that marketplace and adding them to your hand every round. But the difference is that rather than having a set point where you pick up all the cards, in Concordia, you keep playing cards until you don't have any left, and then you have to play a card to pick them all back up. I think that's how it works. It's been a while since I've played. So I think this is different enough that I think they're both good. And this does something very different, which is the board state. In Concordia, Concordia actually has some element, the sort of the feel of sort of moving around and picking things up is actually quite similar, and this sort of feel of optimizing and sort of mechanics and all that kind of sort of thought process is actually quite similar to Concordia in a way. But I do think it's different enough that I think there's room in a collection for both of them.
We don't know the price yet, though, do we?
We have no idea how much this costs. I don't think it will be cheap.
No.
But Concordia is not actually that cheap either. And it's also... I mean, Concordia is about 45-50 quid, I think. Maybe even a bit more than that. And it's got a lot of wooden components, but it's not like this.
I mean, I have to admit, the fact that all the guys are the same, I was a little bit disappointed by. All of the Dude Men models are the same. Yeah. I don't know why it annoyed me. Also, that's a terrible way to show the camera. One of you, please, stop making me look like an arse. I do that enough on my own.
So, yeah.
I was, when I first saw the faction, I was like, oh, they're all going to be individually weaponed, but they are just sprayed differently. I like the model, but I kind of thought maybe that was going to be a bit different.
I wonder.
That is just that's nothing. That's me.
I wonder if we will see someone do something about that during the Kickstarter campaign. We don't know, but check. Maybe I'll leave a note if the Kickstarter is live when I edit this.
Yeah.
If not, I apologize.
Just realised as well, the candies we haven't discussed.
Oh yeah, the candies is the most random part of the game.
Yeah. I dislike the fact you get them for killing me as well. You already get a bonus for doing it. But no, that was a nice switch around where you go, oh, my card isn't allowing me to do the thing I need to do, but this candy lets me do the thing I need to do, so I'll still play that card.
Well, and it really, what it does is it sort of reinforces the importance of the sort of the positioning and territory control aspects of the game, because what it's saying essentially is that when you take a guy off the board, so the way it works is that when someone suffers a casualty, they take a scrapper off the board, they get a little bonus tile with an action or something on it. And what it's essentially saying is that actually their position on the board is more important than any one action potentially. You know, which is a really sort of interesting decision. I liked the Reaper drone a lot actually. We didn't use it in the 2-player game, and I think I'm glad that it's here.
There you have it, folks. Mike says he misses the ability to murder indiscriminately.
I think Michael used it as much as me, just later game.
Yeah.
He murdered a bunch of people. You had all the. You had more murder drone. I actually got rid of my murder drone card because on the final round when you came in here, I was like, I'm going to activate that drone and kill all of you, and then I didn't have the card anymore. I was like, no.
That's beautiful. Thank you for telling me that. Because I'm not like that last turn. I was just like, right, how many people can I put out? I need board control, and thankfully I had the extra movement to get there and there because that's about the only thing that let me do it.
Yeah, you were very lucky to be able to run across there. Fortunately, I had just enough movement left to get it back.
Yeah, I was really annoyed that I needed to have a full turn to be able to undo what I just did. But no, I like that. I have to admit, the way that the player order changes in a 3-player game, I like because it's a catch-up mechanic to the person in last.
Yeah, the disadvantage bit.
Although if you're only losing by 1 point, your opponents must really, really hate that.
It's almost like a tactical thing then, isn't it? It's like, I don't want to score these points now.
Like because the thing is, if you're losing by a lot, it's a much needed boost.
Well, however, it occurred to me that because I didn't lose a lot of guys in the last round, it actually probably would have been more. It would have been better for me to take this one a turn earlier and then go for that one in the final round.
Yeah.
Because then, but the funny thing is, then I would have gone first in the last round, which I actually don't think would have helped me. No. Going last was actually perfect.
Because going last meant you got the last say on the board.
Yeah, and
you got to steal all of these things.
Well, I do wonder how many of them I could have stolen without going last.
Well, the thing, I suppose the thing is you would have taken the ones you thought you could take, but you would have left forces to keep the ones you
I was able to optimize more effectively because I didn't have to overcompensate for uncertainty.
Yeah, well, I moved en masse. You got to respond to that. If you'd have been, I'm going first, so I need to try and maximize my odds. You'd have left, like you probably wouldn't have had the extra people there. So maybe I would have still contested it, or you may have, I don't know, moved someone off of here to take this or whatever.
Yeah. So thank you, Michael, for letting me go first in the final round. It's probably why I won. I'm okay with you stealing the thing. No, not rubbish. Just, well positioned to support me.
Always.
Yeah, so I think that's just my last sort of point. Really, is that sort of setup is a bit of a chore, but I do like the game, and it looks very impressive. Everyone was stopping by in the pub, going, "What's that? What's that?" Do you have anything you want to say?
I don't think so. I think you guys have covered it quite well. I would play this again.
Yeah.
I would.
It wasn't so overly aggressive that.
No, and that's what I liked about
it. Of Michael's aggression meter.
It was exactly.
Yeah, and it does.
It was more, as I say, it's more me as a trying to find the perfect move without knowing all the information, which makes me stop and struggle. That didn't put me off. That's just me as an individual, but it didn't put me off wanting to play this again. I think it'd be quite interesting to see the different options available next time and things like that.
Question for you both, actually. How did you feel about the move mechanic, where it's areas that can cover more than one tile on the board, and you can only move into an area if you have or would have a majority?
Yes. How
did you feel about that?
I would like them to be more clearer.
The regions?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was going to say that I actually thought the regions were quite well marked.
No, there's some parts of it. Like, for example, this bridge there confused me a little bit.
To be honest, I think that's more
because
your
that's
angle.
a different colour.
Yeah.
To this bit. And then...
That doesn't confuse me at all.
I think it's more his angle of seeing it. He only
maybe.
ever...
Well, no, but
I'm
it's
entitled to be confused.
It's absolutely fine, Michael. I'm just saying. I thought it was interesting that you were going to make an exact counterpoint to mine. So I guess it just goes to show that it's sort of subjective.
It is.
That's
Definitely.
why I asked your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see why you might... I mean, one of the things that bothers me is that all of these elevated ones, the different regions are marked by different elevations, except for here for some reason.
And here.
Yeah. Well, these tiles are duplicates.
Yeah.
Well, with the exception of these...
We had no
lifts and
reason
stuff.
ever to go there.
Well, yeah, this region here is basically meaningless. But I guess this is another region over here as well. Mm-hmm. And why is that little region by itself? Anyway.
For me, I'd prefer it to be a little bit clearer.
I've definitely played games that have had this problem, but it's been much worse.
Yeah.
What did you think of the mechanic requirements? So you can't move into this area. So, for example, in this, you could have moved into there because then we'll be equal, except I break ties, so I stop you. But
I think he could have moved in there because you win ties on majority, but you would still have equal majority once he moved in there.
Okay, then, different example, I can't move into there.
Yeah, you can't move into... These guys are basically blocking everything now.
Yeah,
but I think that's part of the consideration of the game, isn't it? Like, I was thinking a lot about these sort of armies of three guys as sort of almost like walls blocking.
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking. Because I liked the deniability of it, but I can see it being frustrating if someone is good at setting up those roadblocks.
I suppose that's why you use the drones, to kill people and to deploy people.
Yeah. I think it gives you enough sort of creative avenues to sort of deal with those kinds of problems in different ways.
There is the feat that allows you to murder someone as well, now that I remember.
Yeah, when you can use a collect action to kill someone and grind them into candy.
Feet like for fun.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
There's no green like soil.
Let's eat Michael's people, but only because it makes them squeamish. The harvester becomes a kill drone.
I mean,
Right, on that note, I'm going. I'm running away.
To be fair, I've run out of things to say.
Good.
No, I thought
We all know that's not true. I can wax lyrical about crap.
yeah, we could continue to fill this space, but I think we're good.
Yeah, I like this game. I'd like to play it again.
Yep.
I am intrigued about the components.
Actually, on that final point, I guess replayability is just one thing to bring up. I don't think it would change substantially, like in terms of feel, the next time you play, but I think it would be different. You know, there's so much that could potentially change. Obviously, you can randomize the board. The cards that come out here will be different. We didn't see all of these cards at all.
Different starting factions.
If you change the starting factions, not only will you have a different thing here and a different starting deck, but you'll also potentially change the drones as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of stuff that can change up, and I like the idea of, I think it'd be cool to maybe take these two base camps here and put them in the two middle spaces. That would be interesting, So you can sort of do that and, change the board around and randomize stuff,
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, would play again, would recommend.
Yeah. So let's see how much it costs back on Kickstarter.
Who knows? Unless it's already come out by the time you see this video.
Now, can't you?
Yeah. Well, that depends if this comes out before or during the campaign.
That's true. And on that note,
bye!
See you next time, guys.
See you next time for another...
Yeah? What?
Yeah.
See you next time for another adventure.
I agree. Sorry, am I looking at you?
You weren't waving. You weren't waving, and I thought maybe you had something else to say.
Oh, no, I'm done.
I just figured he'd stop paying attention.
Standard.
He's off with the drones. We'll be back tomorrow for a completely different adventure. Thank you for coming with us on this one, guys. Bye.
See ya.